Hello, this is Encore here with Nikel Gadsden. We've been really entrenched in the Coolest Afterparty, which aside from just being after the mess that was 2020 and hoping for the best for 2021, it is the afterparty of the release after my new single, Cool With It. So I thank you so much, Nikel, for being here to talk to me about the song and my inspirations, what inspired the song overall. So if you'd like to say a few things.
Sure. Thank you for having me. And I just want to say, listening to this song definitely brings out a lot of energy, definitely feeling a lot of good vibes from it. It's as upbeat and, 80s vibes as it is. It also has that tone of empowerment and, political standpoint. And so, being that those topics are included, I'm sure there's a lot to unpack from this song. So I just wanted to, ask you a few questions and get, your ideal points and aspirations and, just hear a little bit from your side. So with that being said, tell us, who is Ama Encore? How did Ama Encore come to be? What does she mean to you? I like to think of artists as, superheroes. So what is her origin story?
Thank you so much for that question. And I love that you put it as origin story because I am such a nerd and love superhero films, comics. After this, I'm probably going to go read a few webtoons that I've been like hoarding for myself for the last few weeks so that I don't, you know, have nothing to read. Her story is one of coming into my own. I never really felt comfortable singing publicly. There's a lot of reasons behind that. I want to say, a number of instances when I was younger that, convinced me that I couldn't sing and it just wasn't my place to do so. But I was always writing. I was always writing songs. I wrote my first song when I was 6. And over the past few years, I'd been writing things that I felt had shown an evolved side of me, and I really wanted to share them, but I didn't know if I was the person to share them, but I also didn't think the songs belonged to anybody else. So I began thinking, I'm an actor. I should be able to play a character. I could create somebody that I can play in order to sing these songs, somebody I can put on who can be more me than I am. And that's where Ama comes in. Ama is my initials, Alexis Melissa Atkinson. And I also love that it is a name that is derived from the motherland, from the continent of Africa. It just makes me feel so much more rooted in myself. She is my core being. She is the most true, funny, direct, um, rude, romantic, kind of uninhibited version of myself. And though I wouldn't call myself a inhibited person, there is always a side of us that we keep to ourselves, or we only show to certain people, or we show pieces of it and parts of it to people. And I always felt like my songs were my truest form of myself. It's a place I can be the most true to myself. And Ama was that creation. And when I came up with that name, it just didn't feel like the only part. And I'm like, I need a last name. She needs a last name. She needs a full personification that is a statement of who she is. And so when I was thinking this and knew the name was Ama, somebody drove past me. I was walking in the street down to my house, and somebody was playing Encore by Cheryl Lynn, which you will find in the playlist New Year, New Me, Stay Cool, that talks about all my inspirations. And it's a wonderful 80s bop that I love to listen to whenever. And just something about your love deserves an encore. I like the idea that people come back to my music. And as we were discussing earlier before we got on this line, um, I love the fact that my songs, or I hope that my songs, become earworms, because even though you can remember a time before you knew a song, you can't remember what it was like not to know it. And I want my songs to have that kind of rooting quality, that they are integrated into your being, they're integrated into your soul, and when you need them most, they come up, they infuse themselves into your core, into who you are, and inspire you when you need it most, that speak to you when it needs you most. We talked earlier about Elton John and how he's a big inspiration for me, and how his songs kind of possess you in a way. They become the storyteller for what you're feeling. And I hope that all of my songs do that. So I'm Encore is my core self. And I hope she speaks to the core and everybody else, and her songs and my songs speak to that core of everyone.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I know that this is actually your second single out. You have another song called RWB.
Yes.
And now you have your latest single, Cool With It. So what inspired you to write Cool With It?
I was leaving. I wrote it in February of 2020 when we were still out and about, able to see people. And earlier that week, I had visited one of my friends in DC, and I was leaving visiting my friend in Connecticut. And it was good to have that vacation because I had just come back from traveling and felt kind of disappointed with the way that particular trip came out. But somebody I had met during the trip um, had come and grown to mean a lot to me. Um, but at the same time, I felt kind of unsure of where our relationship was heading. And come to find out that particular person had made me feel uh, like I was disposable, like they could pick me up when they wanted to. And I think at that particular moment, they were bringing up their ex and also asking me about like how I felt about them seeing somebody that they were at that point interested in or traveling with and around. And I I sat on the train leaving my friends, and I had felt so great just a second before because I got to see my friend. We had like partied a little the night before. It was like a wonderful time. And just to feel so down and to feel so unconfident. And I stopped myself on the train and said, wait a minute, I'm not this person anymore. I'm not this person who just wallows in um, the way somebody decided to mistreat me. And at that point, I had written most of the album. I had written RWV. I had written a bunch of songs for the project that is coming. But I needed something in that moment. None of the songs I had written were the kind of pick me up that I needed right at that moment. And as I was writing the song and realizing that the thing that bothered me most was the lack of accountability that I hadn't received from this person, I realized that there was a kind of a correlation between the lack of accountability I was feeling in that relationship and had felt prior in a lot of my intimate relationships, sometimes even in like my friendships, sometimes even in familial life. You just sometimes people aren't accountable with you the way you would like them to be, the way you might expect or be giving. So how do we require that? And I realized that same lack of accountability that I felt in my intimate relationships, a lot of my friends had felt, and we see it a lot in the political landscape. So when we get to that second part of the song that talks about things that we're struggling with right now, healthcare inequity, housing disparity, bias, racial bias, gender bias, it has a lot to do with the fact, and the pieces that I'm investigating have a lot to do with the fact that the way we treat each other on a one-on-one level is reflective of and contributing to the ways in which our leaders are treating us. So being able to make that correlation helped me process how I can get better, how I can get what I deserve, and how that it's not just me feeling it, because that's how they get you, kind of. That's how all these people that make you feel small, all these entities that make you feel small get you, is by making you feel isolated. So it was important for me to write something that not only had implications systematically, globally, in a collective way, but also had implications in that it's not just even though I want the song to possess you specifically, you're not alone in this feeling. We're all feeling this. And how do we impact? How is it like women treating themselves right? How is it the citizens saving the earth? How do we empower these groups of people? How do we make it that you're not alone in your feeling? We all are feeling this. And how do we together address this feeling, this inequity? And that is what inspired the song.
That's awesome. And so being that RWB and Cool With It both deal with some, political aspects, how would you say that Cool With It is different from RWB, and how are they similar?
That's a great question. Um, Aside from just tonality, and the genres that they explore, I'm very eclectic in my taste and the music that I want to explore. Um, I think that RWV is the first inkling of going from that internal to the external, and I think they both deal with going from the individual to the collective. Whereas RWV starts that I'm running away, I'm escaping, I'm kind of getting into that isolation mode of, you know what, I can't deal with these problems. I don't feel like it. I'm gonna travel. I'm gonna run away. I'm gonna not turn on the TV. I'm not gonna engage. I'm gonna disengage completely from the world. Um, Cool with it starts in a place of full engagement in, wait, if I run from this, if I just let this keep happening to me, this feeling will chase me down, this torment will chase me down, this mistreatment will chase me down. So I guess in a strange way, it's where one left off, because RWV goes through this story of, even though I feel like I need to run, I need to go away, somewhere in the middle of verse 2, there's a real conversation with the self of, I'm terrified of where we have still left to go. And then it starts asking these questions. So there's an implication of, and I talk a lot about this in kind of when I talk to my collaborators,
Mm.
this development from the I to the we happens very slowly in RWV. It's this rather than running from it, how do I reckon with it within myself? How do I reckon with it with my fellow person? Like, do I kneel or stand? Like, really asking these questions of my country, really asking these questions of my government, of myself, of my fellow man, of my fellow citizen, and how to, in the end of the song, you know, take ownership of the thing. So I think you need to get through that RWV phase of feeling like you need to run from the feeling like it's always going to happen to you. What can we do, to this element of ownership? Because at the end of the song, it's like, but I fight and I say, fight and I say, because if it's nothing else, it's mine. So it's this idea of the I coming into itself and coming into self ownership, even though it addresses very we like issues. Whereas Cool with It is already in that place of self ownership and moves that self ownership into empowering others. And if we're just talking about music, I thought it was really important for RWV to have that solemn quality, but also that rage. Something that's really important to me that I'm very interested in exploring is the beauty of female rage, and how that's not addressed, or how it's made to seem ugly or aggressive or threatening. And I think there's something beautiful when a woman addresses her anger and gets angry. I'm a Black woman, and for so long we've been demonized with the term angry Black woman. So it's a way to devalidate our very valid concerns, and delegitimize very legitimate feelings. And I think what's beautiful about RWV is it's owning that anger and that disappointment and that resentment, and using that to fuel an empowered sense of ownership of those feelings. And how do we actively cure them, or maybe not cure them, but how do we address them? How do we get what we want? How do we get what we deserve? And Cool with It is from that place of, no, I know what I deserve now. I know what I own now. I know what I want from the world, and it's not this. So I'm gonna go out there and get it. I'm gonna find others who want to go get it with me. And it has that upbeat feeling of what happened. So I love that Cool with It is this upbeat way of saying, yeah, it's okay to be angry, and it's okay to own that, and it's okay to get what you want. It's okay to get what you deserve, and you shouldn't be ashamed of that. And there are others that feel like this. I think RWV is a we song in its individuality. It's a song that speaks to a lot of things that people are feeling on an individual level collectively, whereas Cool with It is an individual rallying people to feel their feelings together and be active about inciting change around it.
I know that artists like to include like samples or sound bites from some other sources. I noticed that in this song, there are sound bites from Vice President Kamala Harris and Representative Maxine Waters, reclaiming my time in your song. So I wanted to know what made you include those specific sound bites and why? Why did you incorporate them the way that you did?
Well, first things first, yay, thank you for noticing that. And first of all, they're Black women. I really, really wanted to have Black women in power in my song. That wasn't the first thought. I hadn't written that with them in mind. Well, excuse me. I wrote the Reclaiming My Time completely with Maxine Waters in mind. But initially, how I had it structured is when I wrote the lyrics, the phrase is in the song. And over the past few months, people have been, or rather elected officials who are speaking about issues of disenfranchisement and like powerlessness, marginalized communities, when they're being detracted from, or the issue that they're talking about is being distracted, they've used Reclaiming My Time. And I know that's something that elected officials have been able to use for a long amount of time, but I'm not going to take away her flowers for the fact that she said it first, in that she made it popular. She's coined it for herself. There's even gifs of her. There's like little emoticons of her saying Reclaiming My Time, because it was such a beautiful moment for somebody, specifically Representative Maxine Waters, someone who's been in politics, who's been fighting the good fight for a long time, to assert her agency and have that be seen on a global stage. So I love that phrase, and I had already written it into the lyrics as Reclaiming My Time for me to sing. But when I saw the debate between Mike Pence and VP-elect Kamala Harris, I thought it was such a potent way to address how men, white men, the dominant class, the hegemonic class, the rich, treat what we're saying. We being marginalized individuals, me being a Black woman, Black people, women, Black women, highlight on the Black women part. And it's just the way they want to talk over us, how they want to discount what we're saying, how they want to distract. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors for me. And in the song, when I say, I will not be silent, I love my producers who said, hey, maybe you should say like shush, like maybe that would be a good ad lib, because so many people have told me throughout my life, my fellow sisters, like to shush, to stop being angry, to stop being so loud, to stop being so aggressive. And I wanted to give credence to women, to political women, to women with actual power, that they've stood up to those voices trying to distract and detract from what they're saying. And so initially I didn't have the samples in mind for the song, but when I heard VP-elect say that, I wanted to somehow figure out a way to incorporate it. And at first it was just going to be like sprinkled in there, but it fits. So first of all, Black people say things beautifully and rhythmically and anyway, and just the way that we structured it, and I give mad props to my producers, Ken Candalis and Elizabeth De Jesus, for like mixing it in such a way that it could be a part of the rhythm and the beat, because Black women have that rhythm, we have that beat, and I liked them being a part of the conversation, so that we are not alone in this feeling of being talked over or not being listened to being disempowered and taking that power back by saying what you want. My father has this phrase, and I think it's a beautiful phrase in its initial state, but I've built upon it. His phrase is, a fish dies by its mouth. But my thought is, a fish dies by its mouth, but if it doesn't open its mouth, it doesn't eat. So be careful of the people who try to discount what you say or how you feel, or gaslight you, or minimize what you have to say in favor of what they think or their beliefs. So I think just incorporating their power as powerhouses of government into the song was just like such a beautiful way to bring up Black women specifically, but also to hearken to the collective and hearken to the power that we have within ourselves to speak up for ourselves.
It's definitely a nice addition to the song. Like, especially like it, like you said, like it does blend in well, but it blends so perfectly that you hear it and then you can keep kind of like moving with the song at the same time, all the more giving it more that empowering feel. So great job. And yeah, shout out to your producers.
Yeah. Having a good team is the best thing.
On the topic of, music and producing, I hear that most of the instrumentals I'm getting is like electric, like a little mix of rock, and then we have some synths in there. So I see that many of your inspirations are 80s based. So why is that era or the decade inspiring to you?
I love the 80s. Not, Reaganomics and not AIDS, but the music of the 80s is what I was raised on because my mom is an 80s baby. I mean, she was born at the end of the 60s and her teenagehood was 80s. So I was raised on a lot of 80s music. Prince is life,
Well,
Michael Jackson, Elton John, uh, Whitney, the powerhouses. It's such a beautiful landscape for music. Um, the rock of that time, the R&B of the time, the pop is just so iconic. And I'd like to say that my genre is conscious pop. Or hybrid pop because I mix so many eclectic elements and I don't like to stay within one genre. But pop means the word pop is popular. Like I want it to be music for the populace. I want it to be music for everybody, not digestible in that like it's easy to take in because I love when my lyrics sneak up on people or somebody's like, oh, yo, I was dancing to that, but that caught me off guard, that lyric about this thing. And
mhm.
I think there's lots of songs in the 80s that do that, like Sign of the Times by Prince, like Living in the City by Stevie Wonder. There's so much music that addresses, Rocket Man, so much music that addresses the heart of the political landscape at that time, as well as many times that came before it and after it. But we're also danceable, that we're also intriguing, that we're also innovative, that we're trying a whole bunch of things. So I love the 80s for that. And I love that it says something about my upbringing. It's a testament to my mom, but it's a testament to who I am. Like I love the fun. I love enjoying myself, but also don't stop thinking. I think not to say anything about the pop of this time, because I think we need all kinds of music. We need the music that doesn't make us think. We need the music that makes us think. We need all shades of it. It's not just one thing. But I never want what I have to say being drowned out by the good time. I want to have the good time, but I also want to be striving for better times. And I think 80s music has that quality about it, and I love it for that.
Yeah, I love it too. 80s definitely is a vibe. I'm always like, I've been in love with 80s music. My parents kind of similar. They're born in the 60s. They always played 80s music around me. I used to work at a diner, so it was always on. So yeah, it definitely always put me in that mood. Um, yeah, like your music is very like light and bouncy, but then the lyrics are very direct and forthright rather than metaphoric. So how does the moment that we're in speak to this? Do your inspirations have anything to do with that?
Yes, very much so. Being direct and forthright, something that I came into, and another reason why I created Amma, the persona, the character, the being, the me, um,
Mhm.
is because I know I'm forthright and very direct, especially when I'm comfortable. But it's never said of me that I'm not a passionate person or you don't know what I believe when you're sitting in front of me. Like if you say something I don't agree with, I'm not just gonna let it slide. Sometimes you choose your battles. You don't
Mhm.
have to fight every fight, but you'll know what I believe, whether it's on my face or out of my mouth, you'll know exactly what I feel. Um, and for so long, I was writing songs about either experiences I hadn't had yet or feeling like I needed to write something safe. And I knew that there were songs in me and words in me and things I wanted to say and address that were very direct and were very forthright. And I'll always say Lizzo saved my life because the way just her as a person, that's enough. But like the kind of music she writes, And her being so direct and so forthright, and inspirations like Lily Allen, like Pink, um, people who are funny, even Taylor Swift, people who are funny and cutting. I mentioned to you earlier, Irreplaceable by Beyonce is a hilarious song. If you really like, I mean, everybody, I guess, knows it's kind of funny, but if you really sit down and listen to how she's like talking to this person, you know, there's something beautiful about when a woman is direct and says what she means. And I think there is an inherent metaphor throughout the song, like through the transition from talking about the one-on-one individual, the intimate, going to the systematic, or the collective, things becoming grander. So there is a metaphor in that way, but I kind of like the idea of just saying what I mean. And I love women who say what they mean. I think there's something so beautiful and rare and precious about that. And I feel like too often we've given credence and excuses for people who don't say what they mean. Like I watched The Take a lot on YouTube,
Mhm.
and they were talking about how songs became personal and how it just became intrigue for people's personal lives. But I want my directness to have a greater meaning. I don't want anybody to not know how I feel, just the way that I am in my regular life. I want people to know exactly where I stand, and I think there's a lot of power in that. And I think the song is more powerful because it's forthright and to the point. I think if I was, speaking in code, I think there's a place for that and there's a song for that, but this is not that song. And if I want people to feel empowered, just like the song We're Not Going to Take It, I got to say exactly what I mean, and mean what I say. And I hope that I always find a way to say what I mean, whether it be through song or through what I say.
Here's to saying what you mean and meaning what you say.
Yes,
Love
girl.
it. Love it. And so, with that being said, is Cool With It a standalone song or is it part of a bigger project?
It most definitely is a part of a bigger project. It is called New Woman. I'm not going to announce when it comes out, but it's really important that I address who I am as a woman. It that Ida we dichotomy that I was talking to you about earlier, RWV and Cool With It live in the same universe. It's so funny that we got to talk about kind of their similarities and their differences, because I think the arc that both songs go on is very indicative of a lot of the other songs that are to come, uh, and the songs that are a part of this greater project. And the song that's coming next, which I'm very excited about. I go back into the studio tomorrow, so I'm just and another day this week. So I'm just really excited about um, the idea that me owning who I am and knowing who I am and being Ama and being, Alexis outside of being Ama. Uh, I'm always going to be dealing with that dichotomy of what I feel is what we feel, and having all the songs kind of hearken to that, and also every song addressing the thesis statement of I deserve more. Because in RWV, as you mentioned, it's a political song, but it's also a song addressing a country that hasn't given me personally, and I feel my fellow man what they deserve and what they promised us.
Mhm.
And Cool With It is that same dichotomy of I deserve more from the people around me, and I deserve more from my elected officials. I deserve more from life. I deserve more from everything. I deserve everything good in this life. Doesn't mean bad things won't happen, but I deserve more than what I'm getting. And
I
every
think
song does that.
deserve I think I deserve needs to be like the highlight or the mantra that everyone processes on a daily. Even if it's like simple things like buying something that you really want or a snack, I always start with I deserve, just to like keep that idea in my head that it's like, yeah, I can do that thing, and yeah, I do want that thing, so I am gonna get it and I do deserve it. And why not? So thank you for that. And I'm excited to hear New Woman. I'm excited for you to get back in the studio. And I absolutely love your music. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. So yeah, let us know, like, how do we find you? Like, what platforms are you on? Where can we hear this new stuff? And how can we listen to Cool With It and keep sharing it and keep, telling everyone about it and keeping the vibes going?
Of course, share, 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 share is how I'm probably gonna live right now, how I'm gonna get paid because nobody's outside. I can't hand anybody a CD anymore. I look forward to the day where I can sell my CDs and like see people like listen and enjoy. But for now, the best way to find me is going to my website, www.amaencore.com. That is www.amaencore.com. Ooh, I just came up with that. You can also find me on Facebook or Instagram at facebook.com/amaencore or instagram.com/amaencore. Very easy, just my name. I'm contemplating a Twitter. I technically have a personal Twitter, but I have not converted it to a business one. So you are more than welcome to find me there right now. But when I have that established, I'll share that. But if you want to listen, which is the most important part for now, go to spotify.com, amaencore, AMAENCORE. Best way to find me. iTunes, I'm also on there, same name, same game. I'm also available really wherever you stream. If you want to buy from Amazon Music, if you want to listen on iHeartRadio, if you want to listen on Tidal, wherever you stream, I'm there. Please listen, please support. Buy the songs. I have another single coming. Not immediately, but it's coming. I have most of the work already written, so it's just about producing it. So if you want to support, you can also reach out via my website at the mailing list. So if you want to join my exclusive fan club, Encore, there's a way to do that on my website. And just keep in touch with me. I'll keep in touch with you, do more stuff like this, more stuff where you get to know me and the music. And I'd love to interact with more of you. I'm hoping to do a virtual concert sometime this year, if not a real concert. And just keep looking out for me. Follow me on Spotify. Follow me on iTunes. I'm so happy to have you. Happy to have you share. Happy to have you listen. Loving your support.
You heard it, folks. She's everywhere. Go check her out. Listen to the song Cool With It. It's streaming right now. And follow her, follow the fan page, support, and get those updates so we know when the new single is dropping, because we definitely want to hear it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for taking the time to answer my questions. You've been a great artist and a wonderful inspiration. And I am so thankful to know you, first of all. And I'm so happy for you, and I'm here for you.
Oh my God. Thank you so very much, Nikhil, for being here, for asking me those wonderful questions, for rocking with me, for partying with me before we recorded, for just always being the biggest support. I love having you. I love working with you. I love knowing you. And this journey's going to take me places, and I can't wait to have you with me where I go. Thank you so much, Nikhil. I will talk to you all soon. Hope you listen. Please find me on Spotify and iTunes, and I can't wait to show you more. Bye.
Bye.